Hello, kiddos. Um, my name is Rich, and this is the X's and O's interviews. I should really kind of make a secondary podcast for this, but anyway, I digress. I have Ben Albert here with me. Cool fella. I met him on Podmatch, and I reached out to him and said, "Hey, man, checking out your profile, you are the entrepreneurial fella. You kind of have the proverbial rags to riches stories, and now you're running 5 podcasts and you're successful. Please, sweet Jesus, help me." So he is here with me. That is my pseudo intro for him. So I will let him kind of take the reins and start telling some of his story, and I'll get into why I reached out to him, and we'll kind of do the normal conversation thing we do on this thing I try to call a podcast.
Well, Rich, honestly, man, I'm excited to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I don't know if I can help or not. I can tell my story and tell stories of clients and peers of mine, but I'm no Jesus, so I don't know if there'll be any come to Jesus moments or not, but we can try.
You know what? I dig it because at least personally, from all the interviews I've done, I've been able to extract some real cool info and just things that I've, not instituted, but kind of infused in kind of how I do business. So I would be hard pressed to see you not come with something that's helpful for not just me, but for the folks that are listening. So.
Oh, Rich, let me just acknowledge that because I'm the same way. I host a few shows, as you already mentioned.
5 of them.
And I'm extracting information all the time. And if someone were to actually microanalyze, let's say a sales pitch is an example. If I were to go on a sales pitch, I'm extracting strategies from so many different places, so many different experiences, so many different mentors. A lot of people would actually probably disagree with that strategy. You just choose one playbook, run the plays, and you'll be successful. But
Nope.
I'm always curious. I'm always testing new things. I always want to try something different, and I'm learning something every conversation. So you're going to teach me something as well. Do you got dogs? I heard a dog.
Dude,
or
look,
a child.
I got 5 cats and a
Oh.
dog, and Mama Bear is somewhere that is not at the house at the moment, so she can't wrangle the animals. So yeah, and I will say it is a bit of a token thing on the pod where you get like the hourly. Oh, what animal is that? I don't know. It's one of them. So it's like a running unintentional joke, but hey, is what it is.
I love it. It's I'm in an office now. I used to work from home beginning in the pandemic, and I had a green screen, which was actually just a green cloth that I pinned to the ceiling and was hanging from the ceiling. I had like 3 different kinds of lights. None of them are video lights.
Yeah.
I had, for example, a standing lamp that had like 4 lights in it. I'd have to take 2 of them out to get the right, color temperature in terms of the lights. I spent so much time to set up this beautiful tiny little area in the guest bedroom that if once in a while the green screen would fall, it would malfunction, you'd see behind me, and it would be embarrassing. I did all this work, and I still couldn't go 60 minutes without a dog howling in the background. So I have an office now where there's no one here right now, and it's kind of badass. I'm yelling. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but
no, and that's what I'm worried about on this end, because there's nobody here. I'm in my dining room. It's mildly echoey, and that's why I asked you off stream how did I sound, because the last few that I've recorded, I've been using the little background noise reduction thing, and I'm on the pod like it's like, okay. No. So I realize I don't have to have the microphone in my mouth. Yeah, man, look, before we kind of jump into what you do, how you do it and why you do it, I'll tell you why I reached out to you in the first place. Look, not for nothing. I will little peek behind the curtain, because I told you I got nothing to hide. A lot of times, it sounds bad, but this is a passion project for me, the podcast. Mm-hmm. And obviously I would like to make money off of it as well. As on Podmatch, they'll tell you, hey, you're going to get commission for this, or you're not. I usually kind of bat an eye at the folks that I'm not getting a commission off of. It sounds bad, but hey, look, it's what it is. I don't get paid to talk to you. And I wanted to reach out to you because I feel like your information and your, I don't know, I guess for lack of a better term, just the energy I kind of felt from the profile, I felt that was vastly more valuable than X amount of dollars that I would get from interviewing folks.
Sure.
I just feel like, being that I'm an indie podcaster as well, and, a budding entrepreneur, you hear someone that kind of had that, you put in there, you didn't put verbatim this way, but the whole rags to riches thing. Hey, who doesn't like an underdog story? So I figured a lot of people that listen to this probably are doing the boring 9-to-5s. And, they may have dreams and aspirations, as I did, to do something different, to take hold of what you do and do something that makes you happy. And if you can build that, and you have some advisement, and you have a literal success story you can reach out to and listen to, Jesus, man, like, I can't imagine anybody else better on the pod here. So there's my hat in hand kind of explanation why I reached out to you.
Dude, I love it. I'd love to put myself in this category, but I've interviewed people like Jordan Harbinger, who's been podcasting since before podcasts were podcasts, and
right.
Hala Taha and Chris Van Vliet, who's a 4-time Emmy Award winner. And do you think I got paid to have any of these people on my show?
Exactly.
I would have paid.
Right.
In some scenarios, I would have paid for a consultation.
Right.
But to get one-on-one time to talk about your business and personal life could possibly be in the thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. At the very least, not cheap.
Right.
Podcasts are an incredible platform, and to
Yeah.
kind of, tease, we could go anywhere you want with this story, but like when I was let go at the start of COVID, I was a sales executive for a corporate firm. We were doing video production nationwide in the United States. Mm-hmm. And suddenly there was no travel, no in-person video, no fulfillment, chargebacks, social unrest. I got let go. I'm not even that mad about it. I mean, I would have let myself go too. Like, I wasn't going to bring in any sales. So that happened. And it was through podcasting. It was through surrounding myself with people that I wanted to be more like. There was a time in my life, I'll be transparent with you, I was miserable. I was taking a half Xanax every Monday to try to get through the meetings and binge drinking over the weekend. My life wasn't looking that pretty. I would never tell anybody that. I was pretending like it was good.
Right.
And that was all leading up to getting let go and having that dark moment where I had to try to figure stuff out. And the same people, the Jordan Harbingers, the Hala Tahas, the Mark Bowden of the Behavior Panel, Chris Van Vliet, these are people that I would listen to hungover on a Sunday, and it was almost like mental masturbation that I'd listen to all these business tips and personal growth, and I had the strategies and the tactics. But to be transparent with you, I wasn't implementing anything. And nowadays, I'm having people like that on my podcast, and it really was like, okay, I'm starting from nothing right now. I don't have a job. No one's hiring. Revamped my LinkedIn profile. No one seems to be hiring me at this time. Let's start a podcast and see where it goes. There's the pup again. Let's start a podcast and see where it goes. Take your time. I'll ramble for the audience here.
Yeah, let me hold on 1 second.
Sure, man. The beloved animals. You guys haven't left Rich a review yet. Now's the time. I don't think he can hear me, so I'm stalling here. Leave Rich a review. What kind of dog do you think?
You gotta love the mailman, yeah.
That was the mailman.
Yeah.
I'm rambling. I'm not good at this. I asked the audience if they could guess what kind of dog that was.
They know. It is a pug.
It's a pug.
It is a pug.
It's beautiful. Yeah. I've got a Maine bulldog, so yeah. The short, I forget exactly where I left off, but the real point is I started surrounding myself with the right kind of people.
Right.
And I did it through podcasting. You can do it through live events, virtual events, charities, joining communities online, Facebook groups. I started a podcast to surround myself with the right kind of people. And then the people that I used to mental masturbate to but never implement anything. And honestly, I didn't deserve their time because I was a consumer, but I wasn't producing anything, suddenly are coming on my show. And it really was one day at a time, surrounding myself with the right people, trying to add more value than I take, and honestly getting lucky. People put their chips on me, and sometimes it doesn't pay dividends, but if you put your chips on me, I'm going to do whatever I can to over-deliver for you.
Yeah, I mean, there was a while to kind of give you a little perspective on what, my situation was. We had this podcast is kind of stemmed from an idea. I hate my job with a fire of 1,000 suns. I am immensely overqualified, underpaid, and I'm just miserable. It's convenient. That's why I stay. My schedule is definitely very nice. Helps me want to stay. So I decided, hey, okay, I can do this job with my eyes literally closed. Let's figure out something else that we can do that makes sense. And I jumped into this. And then I started a second podcast. And those two podcasts were very similar in nature. And then we adapted and we changed it a little bit. Because my wife was like, yeah, one podcast sucks. I'm not listening to it. It's like, oh, well, that feels good. Thanks. Then we converted it recently just into one because we realized, hey, we can make that one longer, still have all the aspects of both podcasts in them. And instead of occasionally scrambling for stuff to speak on, we can really hone in weekly and make it the best product we can instead of divvying up our time on these other ones. So, it's funny because you said you can really kind of do whatever you want. You can go any direction you want with podcasts, and you got 5 of them, which is crazy to me. But I kind of want to know what's the differences between them, and why do you have 5, and what really got you into this whole podcast game?
Yeah, so first off, it sounds way more impressive than it is. I'll explain. I'll answer the second question to lead in, but I started a music podcast in 2016. It was called Rochester Groovecast. I'm from Rochester, New York. And It was really just highlighting local creatives. Before I ever even knew what marketing was, I was setting up MySpace pages, handing out music flyers, band T-shirts. I was a marketer before I knew what marketing was, and then I found myself in the marketing industry, and I was a podcast binge listener. And a really common piece of advice, which isn't always the best piece of advice to monetize, but it's good advice to be happy, it's find your passion, find your niche, and do just that.
Yeah.
And I was a podcaster from Rochester, New York that loved music, and there was not a Rochester, New York music podcast. So that's how I got my start. I'm like, I'm going to be the Rochester, New York music podcast. And it wasn't a great business model, didn't make any money doing it. But that being said, I got into just about anywhere I wanted to go for free. So I was bartering my podcast for
Right.
live events, music festivals, things like that. So that's where I got started in podcasting. And when the pandemic hit, I actually was on hiatus with that show because I was, nose deep in corporate. But when I got let go and the pandemic hit, I was like, oh my God, all these musicians can't play. They are not essential, which I understand you wanted to social distance, but in what world is liquor more essential than music? In what world
you're
is
not wrong, man.
entertainment's not essential? That's insane to me. So we started to relaunch the podcast, and we would do it live, and we would have them play live. So it was a way that someone could see a show with an interview all done live and on the spot, so people could, watch from their TVs at home. So
that's super cool.
That's where it all got started, and then I had those moments of confusion and clarity about what am I going to do next. I had a marketing background. All that I needed was my laptop, so I thought to myself, why don't I just do Rochester music, but do it for business? Music, Ben, is a party animal, very social, goes out a lot. Well, that doesn't exist right now. Let's reinvent myself and become business, Ben. So then I started Rochester Business Connections to highlight business leaders in Rochester, New York. So instead of music industry, I just pivoted to business industry, and I'll be transparent with you. I was starting a marketing firm that I could possibly help these business owners. In the worst case scenario, they'll teach me stuff I didn't know, and even if they don't work with me, they become peers, they become friends, they become referral partners, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where it all started. And to answer the other part of the question, I host technically it's 6 shows. I need to update my bio. Technically it's 6, but it's kind of not. So imagine like any television network or any radio network at all. It's called the Real Business Connections Network. I've since rebranded from Rochester Business Connections to Real Business Connections. And that's the umbrella. But all of the shows in quotations are talking about business and personal life, how to be the person that can succeed in business. So we tackle strategy and tactics, but we also tackle the mindset, the lifestyle, the stories, and ultimately the willingness to work required to implement those strategy and tactics. And I don't know if you want me to explain all 6 segments, but every segment is in that category. So it's not like I'm talking about underwater basket weaving and chalk art and music and business. Everything's basically business, and to me, I've learned everything in business is personal growth. You can't skill up without working, so everything falls into that umbrella. However, the shows have a slightly different style or purpose to them, so people can pick and choose their adventure or just listen to all of it, if that all makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want you to like, don't blow your load on it, but kind of give a teaser of those 6 parts, because I want because before you do that, I fully agree. I've always kind of lived by this kind of mantra on the whole podcast idea, because I've been doing it since literal Easter Sunday. So I am green as grass, but we have definitely leveled up in our, abilities and production value and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Like, this legitimately started with a couch and an iPhone. Now it's a dining room table with microphones.
Love it.
And an iPhone. It's fine. I've always kind of believed, though, this is one of the few businesses that everybody can eat. Like, you don't need to be cutthroat and, dog eat dog, yada, yada, yada. Exposure is super cool. And I love the idea of this interview stuff because I get to be super selfish and talk to people that I want to talk to, because you literally get to pick and choose who you want to speak with.
Right.
But, I get to expose my audience to a different grouping of people, a different perspective on X, Y, and Z in life, and vice versa. And it's just a real cool idea that they put together on this, which it's kind of like a swap meet for people. I don't know. I dig it. But yes, please give me, let's talk about the 6 points here, and but leave enough to kind of get people to, I mean, not that you wouldn't still listen, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And realistically, if you type in Real Business Connections into any podcast player, you'll find all of the episodes in one place, so you can kind of choose your own adventure.
Nice.
I already touched on Rochester Business Connections. It's Rochester, New York business leaders. Those are great conversations if you just want to hear an up-and-coming small business, but it does have my hometown flair to it, so it isn't always the best suggestion for a outside of Rochester audience. Learn, Speak, Teach is quite literally the same show, but national to international mentors. So
okay.
I started with Rochester, and let's be realistic. I'm listening to podcasts more than anybody, YouTube, networking. There's more people out there than just Rochesterians. So Learn, Speak, Teach was the show that I launched where I could talk long-form conversations, the story behind the story, with business leaders anywhere in the world. So those are kind of the yin to the yang. There's the local, then there's the international.
That's smart, man.
15-Minute Fridays is easy to implement business tips for busy people. I will be transparent. I struggle to keep it under 15 minutes. But I bring on a guest where in 20 minutes or less, we bring a quote to the table. We talk about one specific idea, and then we provide homework, or I like to call it an integration assignment, so people can take in 15 to 20 minutes, learn something new, and have a call to action on how they can implement it for free in their life. So a lot of people on a car commute or something short, not the ones that don't binge listen Joe Rogan 4-hour-long podcast,
right?
They like the 15-minute stuff. So that's 15-Minute Friday. Ben's Bites is kind of whenever I feel like releasing it, and I talk about whenever I want. That's my monologue show. I don't really like to monologue, but for the thought leadership and for explaining specific concepts, that's helpful. And I launched a new segment for Ben's Bites where I'm answering listener questions. So Ben's Bites is monologue. So to kind of go over what I just said, there's Rochester, there's international, there's short form, there's monologue. So it's all still kind of the same show, but different segments. And then Real Hits is turn on any television show. I said that wrong. Turn on any television network. They probably play replays, especially if it's a sitcom network. They'll play a replay from a different network on their stream because their people haven't seen it yet, or people just love it. So what Real Hits is me rebroadcasting other podcasters.
Really?
So you can subscribe to Real Business Connections. I'm one human with one voice. I'm a white male from New York. I bring on other guests, other voices, other styles, so I can replay other people on my stream to get a perspective that wouldn't exist with just me hosting a show.
Wow, that's really smart, man. Oh,
because
you're essentially doing the interview kind of this kind of exposure process, but without the without the person. Oh, that's crazy.
I'll be totally honest with you.
Wow.
Content's king. It's a way that I can
Yeah.
publish content quickly without creating it myself. But since I'm like kind of endorsing the podcast, it's beneficial to them. It's beneficial to me because I get content on my stream.
Everybody
And
can eat.
and again, it's an intentional way to network and build a relationship without having to jump through that many hoops.
Yeah, my my co-host, I sent him my calendarly, whatever it's called, link.
Calendly.
Yeah, that thingy. And he's like, dude, can you like do you ever just stop? I'm like, no, I don't. And the reason being is because I want this so bad. Like it's beyond a passion project. I am continuously trying to find people that want to be on. I'm continuously marketing it out, trying to make connections. The wife brought up a great idea that we're going to actually attempt to do, and we're going to try to make a kind of podcast studio. She kind of compares it to like an artist co-op, where people that don't have equipment or don't have the space or whatever can do this at. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And there's a lot of work that goes on to it, but this podcast kind of journey has been an eye-opening thing. And you mentioned your whole come to Jesus moment there. Yeah, this actually was my come to Jesus moment. I went to school for marketing for a while, and then money got real tight and I had to stop. And they just kept wanting to charge money. It's like, I can't pull this from other places that are not my pocket, but okay. And I figured, well, you know what? Hell with it. Let's go ahead and do this on our own. Let's see how it goes. And if it fails, whatever, you're still going to do it because it's fun. Because that's what this whole thing is based off is fun. There's an absolute foundation of the business part of it. I also realize it is a podcast. It is not going to be lucrative, at least for a long time, unless you get extremely lucky and meet the right people and talk to the right people and you get in. And that's partially another reason why I do the interviews too, is because, like you said, it's good PR for everybody involved.
It is.
As long as it's not a god-awful conversation.
It's brilliant PR. And it's the people that are actually listening or engaged listeners, and I care about them. This isn't an ad. I've got a lot of band T-shirts. You put on a band T-shirt, that's a one-to-many advertisement. That's a reflection on, I like this band. But a podcast is really intimate. And I know this as someone who listens to a lot of podcasts. You get to peer into people's lives. You get to join in on the conversation. And it builds so much trust and rapport that I don't want listeners just to listen. I want them to join the conversation, join the community, let people know that they're listening, because there's something real special there. And there isn't many PR strategies you can think of that can obtain that at such a low cost and such a low time investment. It's simple as clicking record and just having a conversation.
And just talking.
And talking. And having something to say is important as well.
Yes.
But sometimes we don't have much to say, and the best way to find the right things to say is to practice. So if you haven't started, if you haven't failed quickly, you're really not going to get to any point of success or proficiency, even if you're starting at a lower level. It's the act of doing it. This isn't just podcasting, anything in life. It's the act of doing it that's going to make you good.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect, and that's kind of the basis of what we have done on our side. We wanted to make mistakes and be bad and then grow. And my co-host one day listened to our first episode and he's like, holy Jesus, man. We were super bad. I'm like, I know. Now we're just moderately bad. It's great. But that is also, that's why we evolved. I mean, me and the wife have one. me and my friend have one, and me and my friend are going to have a football one. So I'm going to be recording about 5 times a week, excluding any interviews. And to me, that's not enough. I need to do more. That I'm that crazed kind of, I'm that crazed person that wants it so bad. Yeah. And I think that there's not a lot of people out there that want anything like that, let alone something that's not lucrative yet, which I guess, if you take a step back and look at it from an outsider point of view, you're kind of looked at as, you're not really getting anywhere. It's like, yeah, you think that, but the people I've spoken with have given me invaluable information. If I just sent this out via a text to the people that I texted initially to, I would not have the listeners we have. I would love to have more community and community engagement in there, because I feel that with ours, what we do is it's helpful but silly and funny and goofy, but we have perspective, and we kind of say the things sometimes people are afraid to say. And I was going to mention about the whole, connection you make. You think about a TV show that you're really invested in, an episodic thing. You eventually become almost entrenched in the story, or almost a part of that fictional character's life.
Right.
How is that any different than, listening to an episodic audiobook?
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially what a podcast is. I mean, yeah, the chapters may be all screwy and all around, all over the place, but, you look forward to that. I have many podcasts I subscribe to, and they're usually on during I'm doing whatever else, and they're on the background and whatever. It's nice because it sounds like you really have kind of resonated with your audience and have made that connection where they look forward and they gain value from what you're doing. And that's beautiful, man.
Well, thank you. A lot of what you just said resonated with me. Sometimes you feel like you got to be some kind of crazy to host a podcast, let alone multiple segments, let alone a high frequency, let alone a lot of topics, let alone no script. I forget exactly what you said, but it's like
I said a lot, man. It happens.
I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm not a genius. I went to school because that's what my parents told me I should do. I didn't really have a industry or a thought. I took communication studies because I did a lot of research, and it seemed like it was going to be easy. And at the time, I was in college, and Raider professor said a lot of the professors were hot, so I took communication studies. I didn't know what I was freaking doing.
Yeah.
I have a degree, but what I've learned through podcasting, I think is far more valuable than I even learned in those 4 years.
Dude, experience is key, man. It's we literally, I'm not a shameless plug here.
Mm-hmm.
So here's how our show is formatted. We have a subject, we do a silly draft, and then a subject. Now that we've merged them, we're either doing one subject in a draft or maybe 2 smaller subjects in a draft. One of the shows we did was college. And is it a scam? Is it worthwhile going to? And literally within that conversation, I kind of turned a little bit of a corner, because I didn't think about it before. We don't think about our topics. We have our topic and we just riff. It's very organic, and I kind of felt like, yeah, life experiences are almost more valuable than, what's, some schmuck is sitting up on a podium telling you, reading from, other schmucks writing in a book. It's like, I mean, yeah, there's definite practices and things that are absolutely insanely useful. But I mean, you putting it into practice, you have to understand people are your biggest like people are our consumer.
Yeah.
And if you're not providing what your consumer wants, what are you doing? Like what you're just talking to talk. That's nobody wants that. You need to be interesting and have something to you, have some substance, have some stories. And if you can't do any of that, then just ask your viewers, if you have any at that point, what they want you to talk about. There you go. I mean, it's the podcasting thing isn't, I don't think it's difficult. I think you got to have the balls to put yourself out there and to be transparent and to be real and have conversations and care. You can't fake. I mean, you can fake the stuff, but people can pick up on that. I don't know how to fake stuff. It's just not. I'm just not built that way. So when I'm talking to folks and like yourself, you'll get these upward inflections in my voice where I'm like, oh, and it's like, oh, this dude really does actually. Yeah, I actually do care, and I'm hearing you, and I want to know more. That's the beauty about the podcast thing.
Well, it's a self-guided education. To kind of jump on this tangent really briefly, my girlfriend's the perfect example. So, in my opinion, she's so hardworking, so driven that she could have done anything and she would have been successful. Like, she's moving up in her company way quicker than anyone her age ever could because she's brilliant.
Sounds like my wife.
I love that. I love that. We'll have to talk more offline because I want to learn more.
Yeah.
She went to school and got a master's in accounting. She would not be able to do her role without it. And there's continued education to ensure. I mean, laws change all the time. So her getting that master's in accounting, and she did it over the course of like 10 years because she was working full time. She wasn't going to school full time. So
props to her, man.
100%. And that's an example of how the school system can really serve somebody. And she has a lot of student debt, but she's also making a ton of money, and she was able to buy a house. So that's an example of how school system can serve you. A counter example that isn't even about college. Do you know who Tai Lopez is?
No.
So I'm sure a lot of listeners do. The listener probably does know, but he's known for I'm Here in My Garage. It was like the most famous YouTube ad of all time. It was him in his garage with a bunch of Lambos, and he's like, you know what's more valuable than these Lambos? Knowledge. And it's just like this, it's kind of funny, interesting video. The short version is Tai Lopez is brilliant. He's a brilliant coach, but he teaches coaches how to start coaching businesses to educate other coaches. So imagine this. You got a brilliant guy that's a good marketer, and then a 25-year-old starts a coaching business that coaches how to start a coaching business. So now you've got a 25-year-old. You've got a 25-year-old teaching a 19-year-old how to be a business and life coach. That 19-year-old has never run a business, and this is going to sound like ageism. We all experience different things at different times. There's a high probability that the 19-year-old hasn't experienced enough.
No, kids are stupid. Let's just say it as kids are stupid.
And I'd step back because ageism, I know people that were really mature, really young, but I still wouldn't want a 19-year-old teaching a 50-year-old.
No.
So that being said, there's the scenario where it's coaches teaching coaches how to coach, or teachers teaching teachers how to teach, researchers teaching researchers how to research. It's the application of the knowledge. It's my girlfriend taking the knowledge and having the grit and resilience to apply it and move up the corporate ladder is the example of success. So you can learn all day, but it's the the short version is you can learn all day, but it's the application of the knowledge that actually gets you somewhere.
Yeah, my co-host Jermaine, we kind of have a running kind of saying here because we talked about doing the podcast for about a year, but we were too cowardice to do it, or we just never took the step. And eventually came to the point where like, yeah, man, you can have these ideas all day, and all they are is ideas. But once you actually put an action to them, it's a plan. Like it's an actual thing. And it's like, yeah, we just kind of sat here with all these great ideas, and okay, cool, those are ideas. Do something. And we did. So,
and make it
I don't know.
ugly.
I guess one
Make
thing
it
I can
ugly
definitely
too.
take. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, make it ugly. Just do something, and it might be
Yes.
ugly. But
Oh, we did. We that was unintentional. But yeah, we definitely. But you know what? It's embarrassing and cringy and But we can look back at that, and what's beautiful is you're able to see your progression and your growth. And I think that's one thing that people need to take from what you're saying here is you don't need to be some kind of multimillionaire,
yeah,
business guru to grow something, to build something. Just start and see what happens. Learn, listen to people like yourself that have good ideas, that have had a network of people around them that may or may not have been smarter or whatever, or more successful or whatever. No one does this by their lonesome.
no,
And if you think that, then you're gonna fail. Like it just isn't a thing that happens. So
it's not.
it's cool to hear. It's cool to hear your story. I dig it.
It's. I think the latter's more compelling. The person getting ugly, messing up, learning as they go,
Yes.
documenting the process. There's a lot of great business mentors. I'm actually not going to knock them, but they're good at X, Y, and Z. They start a new thing, and they're good at that, and it's good content, but it's not compelling. It's just
Right.
more of the same. And then there's the person that got started. We'll just use the age 40 because it feels late for some people.
I'm 37.
There you go. There's the person that gets started at 40, and then by the age of 45, they've completely transformed themselves, and there's actual documentation of
Yeah.
everything they did. Just to take this in a left field that we don't have to go deep into, imagine when AI gets better and better and better, someone can take all the stuff I've wrote, all my social media posts, all my photos, all my podcasts, and then they could recreate me to the T because they understand my inflection, they understand what lights me up, they understand where my brain goes, how I process, how I answer the same question three different
Don't say
ways
that too
depending on the
loud.
day.
Elon might be listening.
I hope he is because maybe this is egotistical. It actually is. Honestly, I don't give two shits at the end of the day. But I think
Fair.
it would be really cool if I pass away and you just recreated me.
like Walt Disney except digital.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Why? I mean, all the data you need to do a good job's there.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a terrifying idea, but it's also, are we, can we say that we're really that far off from it? I mean, maybe like the common man, yeah, that's probably not going to happen, but like,
Yeah.
people with the celebrity names that are, maybe not even celebrity names, but like the super influential, great minds of our time, whatever. Yeah, I mean,
Everybody's going to be dating like a
cool. Now
Taylor
I'm not going to
Swift
sleep
bot.
tonight.
There
Appreciate
you
that,
go.
man.
Well, let me look at this. There's a positive end to this as well. Let's say it's not recreated for the masses.
Okay.
It could be recreated internally. The amount of records I have on my ancestors is pitiful. I hardly
Right.
even I hate to go here this late in the podcast, but like I've lost both my parents. I'm 32 years old.
Me too, man.
I don't what
I shouldn't sound chipper about that, but yeah, good.
No, I'm sorry to hear that. And it's we're young and that's happened. I don't know them that well. Like I
Right.
feel like I barely knew them. And if there was a way that they would have documented where I could have a vault that will live in the cloud and never get lost so my children's children can understand what their ancestors was like, that's freaking brilliant, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, not for nothing. I know nothing. I don't know medical history. They've been dead since I've been at least, or so. Mom died when I was 12. Never met dad. Grandparents raised me. They've been dead since I've been 18. So
Wow.
I've been on my own and without parental supervision, I guess, for longer than I actually had them. So yeah, you go to the hospital, you go to the doctor. What's your medical history? Fucked if I know. I don't know. They're dead. I can maybe, I don't know, send them an email, see if they'll respond. I don't know. But what are you supposed to do with that? So yeah, that's an interesting concept. And look, not for nothing. I know that we're running real close to the brink here. Please understand, you have my email. You need to send me like another time where we can do the part 2, because unfortunately I'm a bit of a talker, right? And I like to engage with people, and I end up talking a lot about random stuff when I'm supposed to be interviewing people. But told you it's conversational. I apologize for nothing. So this is definitely a continued conversation I'd love to have.
Yeah, we have a lot of similarities we didn't even know before we started the discussion.
That's the beautiful thing about it. That's the beautiful thing about it, man. This is like it's kind of like a chat room without like the weird naked pics being shared.
Fair.
It's a cool thing because you get to get different perspective from someone you would never talk to, probably, and that in itself is invaluable. So.
Crucial.
It is. So look, if you're about round 2 at some point here, please do it. But I hate to kind of abruptly kind of end it, because I feel like there's still a ton more that we could talk about. Henceforth, please email me. Drop your socials, your website, and obviously I want you to send it to me as well. Or no, I can just get off the site and just put it on the notes thing. If you want my stuff, I'll send you my stuff. It's completely up to you. There's no absolute need.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to keep the conversation going. It's really 2 main things. The first main thing is I'll come back anytime. I love having these conversations.
Beautiful.
So we'll make
Please.
it work. The second main thing is if someone's listening, this is a 2-parter.
Yeah.
If you haven't hit subscribe, 5 stars, most platforms you don't even have to type in a review. You can just smash 5 stars if it's more convenient. Do that so this podcast can reach more people. And if you've done that, because honestly, I'm not trying to pull anyone, subscribe to this show. I wouldn't be on it if it wasn't for Rich. You can find my show wherever you found this show. So Real Business Connections, you just type that in wherever you found this. That's where you'll find me. I'm on the podcast apps. And if you're subscribed to both shows, you'll see when we do a round 2. So that'll be helpful.
See, this is why he's much better at this than I am. Oh man, I'm sitting there I may have to subscribe to my own show now, because this guy just.
You're not subscribed to your own show?
I actually do on Apple. It's funny.
You get more downloads that way, so.
There you go. Fudge the numbers. Smart.
I don't know exactly how this works, but a lot of times if you're subscribed and set up for auto download, it'll download it and it'll count it as a listen. So you'll get a few extra if you're subscribed to your own show.
There we go. Just put that in my little notepad there. All right.
And if the audience is subscribed and auto downloads, that helps the numbers as well. So I always try to do that for podcasts I listen to.
Well, and we sent out the regular kind of text to all the people, and then we're like, look, just subscribe to it. We're tired of doing this. We're not going to. If you're not subscribed at this point, we have 30 episodes. You're not going to, so kick rocks. I don't know what to tell you.
Sometimes I don't want to alienate people, but sometimes it's not worth your time. You're creating good content. I want to see people engaged with it.
Yeah, I'm not going to beg you to listen to it, man.
Yeah.
Your one download is not going to break me here, but you've had 30 episodes. Get your shit together. I don't know what to tell you.
Shoot, we're ending this podcast by pissing everybody off.
That's fine. I'm okay with it. Well, look, man. Look, I appreciate this so much, and it's actually mildly frustrating because I usually have like a little dialogue after it, but like I told you, I literally got booked for somebody at 11 as well, and I don't want to sandbag them. Please email me, what's your your availability, because I really want to do round 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 14. Yeah.
I will tell you this tiny little tip. So when you're using Calendly, it's Calendly. You can set it up where there's a buffer. So what I do for my shows is I don't it's impossible to double book.
Yeah.
Because I used to do the exact. We make mistakes, we learn. Like I used to do the exact same thing. I would be back to back to back to back, and I would sound like a robot. So you can set up on Calendly to create a buffer, and I do that because almost every one of my conversations runs long. So I'll shut up.
No, fair enough. I just didn't expect people to like me enough to book me in the same day in the same time frame. It's like, oh, all right.
It's a good compliment, man.
Oh yeah, look, I'm not mad about it. It's just like, all right, fine.
Well, listen, I'm gonna send you an email right now.
Yes,
the listener's gonna subscribe, and we're gonna let you move on to business, man.
And this will be uploaded. What time is it now? 11. This should be uploaded by about 2 or 3 my time. Well, we're in the same time zone, so I'll send you the link to the show with all your stuff on it. I'll put my stuff on it too if you want. And
dang,
what?
That's fast.
Oh yeah, that's the wife tells me this. The wife tells me the same thing. It's fine.
I've got podcasts coming out in October right now, and we're
July. Oh yeah. I don't screw around. I want it in. I want it done. I want people to, I love the organic thing is what makes this podcast awesome. And that sounds pretentious, but that's what we like it to feel very grassroots, because it is. And I think that's what differentiates us from other super formatted podcasts, because we do this for us. There just is some goofy people out there that like to listen to us too. So
oh yeah, it's not a totally selfless endeavor. I learn more than anybody. So it's not a selfless endeavor. I do this for me and the people. It's a win for everybody.
I dig it. All right, brother. Well, listen.
Man.
I'll be looking out for that email. Absolutely. And
I heard the bzzz. I think that was me.
Oh no, I think that's actually my dog snoring.
Oh, okay. I thought
because I was looking around. I'm like, what the hell is that noise? And I was like, God, he's a pug. I forgot. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, listen. You have a good rest of the day. I appreciate it, and we'll be talking here sooner or later.
You too, bud. Be well. We'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
That's it.